Yep, definitely.
Uh-oh.
I am the dumbest person I know. I thought that pile of lights I bought a few months ago was bad. But no, managed to top that. I bought about 200 antique irons. Apparently it is Land Rovers or irons only. You don't have to be lonely at ironsonly.com. There's more. I have a massive iron collection. It's something I never thought I'd say in my life. Welcome back to the Lost Cause Ranch. Today, we finally get into what in the heck is going on with all those lights, hangers, and irons. All of it's wearing Sasha out. But we'll get to that in a minute. Last video we left off with the Ruckus. Little Ruckus is running again. Gonna leave the plastics off because I'm trying to sort out the idle. It's got an auto choke carb and it's been throwing me some fits on the idle. So it's a little interesting to dial in. Let's go make a package run. Think this is a goofy enough looking setup? Right now, this is probably my favorite toy around. 49 cc's of fun. We only got one issue. I live on a hill, and it just doesn't quite pull up the hill out of the driveway all that great. So we're gonna build an intake and an exhaust in the future. Brap life. Some days I wonder. Big iron guy now. Well, some of these are actually pretty neat. Could you imagine straightening your clothes out with something like this? Yeah, just pour a little gas in it. Don't light the house on fire. Learned a lot about irons in the last month. Some of them are actually pretty neat. Well, let's get these put away. So this story starts back more than half my life ago. Look at that one, like a mullet. Then there's those. We got some weight here. Might have overloaded the cart. It's for like chips and stuff at a gas station. Or 180 irons. Yep, definitely. Uh-oh. So a little repair is going to be in order. This little venture's off to a great start. Well, this is probably the second dumbest thing I've done all week. Then my next dumb thing is I'm going to try and move this without taking the irons off. Probably going to end up in a bad deal, but that was a lot of work. We're going to take the bottom row off. Yep, that one's definitely chooched. Alright, in my head this is going to work. The only problem with that is, in my head, that was also going to work. That's good for the bearing when you lose all the balls, right? So what in the world do I have going on here? Well, unfortunately, I still have to make money to survive. It's rough, isn't it? But this whole mess stems back to more than half my life ago. And it all started with cars. My first car was an S13 Nissan 240SX, 1991 hatch. I was 15 years old. Started modifying it when I was 16. The bug bit, and I wanted to modify it more. So I started buying and selling stuff at that age. Mainly aftermarket 240 parts. And when I was 17, I hit the limit that I could sell on PayPal. You could do $10,000 a year without a credit card in there. I was 17, didn't have a credit card. So the flea market behind me has kind of been part of my whole life. When we started the business that eventually became the dealership and repair shop, it actually started out with a lot of hustling. I don't want to say hustling. I hate that term. It started out with a lot of buying and selling things. Various things, mostly things that interested me. So now with the dealership sold off and back to simpler times, we're back to what I enjoy. And that is irons. No, I'm just kidding. I kind of enjoy them now. I didn't start out enjoying irons. A lot of things intrigue me, and especially stuff like this. That was made in the 1800s. How neat is that someone was able to make that happen? You know I like building things. Look at the work that must have went into that without all the modern tools. But essentially what I've been doing outside of the Land Rover stuff, more as a hobby, finding myself some vintage things that I think are neat, selling them to other people who think they're neat. I mean, who doesn't need a couple thousand coffee cups and plates from Buffalo, China, made in 1964? We have some Japanese plates. Most of you started asking about what was going on in the background when it was the big pile of lights. That was another interesting story. I find that searching out for this type of stuff brings some interesting experiences. The lights was one of them. Bought 200 plus surplus Home Depot return lights from an Amish gentleman. He obviously didn't have a use for them, but in that process, got my first ride in an Amish buggy. Had it not been for this whole buying and selling stuff, that would have never happened. Maybe we need a buggy. And the hangers from the last video. I bought 700 pieces of clothing. Like I said, I am the dumbest person I know, but the hangers all had clothing on them. I went through and I narrowed it down to keeping about 200 to resell. Ended up with about 500 hangers because I donated the other 500 pieces of clothing to a local shelter. But the quick and dirty of all this is going back to the roots when I had a lot more fun in business. It's not a huge moneymaker, but it helps free me up to sit and build Land Rovers with you guys and have a little fun doing that. But it is nice now that we have the big shop in order. The little garage has been taken over for Joe's Flea Market and shipping center. But there is still gonna be a car stored in here. Coming soon. It never ceases to amaze me what you can come across in life as well. Like these, I bought 15,000 bingo cards. We are down to about 10,000 left altogether. Bingo cards, who'd have thought? So obviously, those of you that have been following along know that I have a bit of an addiction to collecting, mainly Land Rovers, but the only good thing about that addiction is I also have an addiction to selling, so we don't get too crowded most of the time. But on the Land Rover front, moved the rest of the Defender stuff down to the big shop, so we're gonna organize that. And in the next video, we're gonna put a little light on the situation. Then we're back to rocking and rolling on my favorite one in the collection, the LS3 Defender. Appreciate you guys watching, appreciate you subscribing, and there is a look into Joe's life outside of Land Rovers. Just a bunch of old junk, kind of like the Land Rover, just different old junk. I managed to put myself in a precarious position. This is the budget LR4 key, happens to be the only key. And I decided it needed some cleaning, so I put it through the wash, and it is currently chooched, no worky, no starty. Tried a new battery, not as rusty as the old battery, still didn't work. So we're gonna stick it in some rice. Here's to hoping for a flash. That's a good noise. Bullet dodged. Once again, I escape the consequences of my actions.